a way of life. Hope everybody's having a good weekend. Just wanted to come on here to talk about Uranus and Taurus. Now, due to the Mercury retrograde, I'm being called strongly to go back, right? Because that's what Mercury retrograde is to go over things, to reevaluate things, right? And because it's in Scorpio, it's asking us to go deep into, figuring out all Mercury and Scorpionic things. And because Scorpio right now is in, there's a stellium in Scorpio, we literally at this point have Mars, Venus, the Sun, Moon, maybe not the Moon anymore at this point, but pretty much a good portion of all the planets are in Scorpio, except for like 3, okay? And that's without counting or doing the whole being precise, but it's just a high energy of Scorpio right now. So I'm being called strongly to go back and reevaluate all these things. So this video is going to be about Uranus and Taurus, but the reason that I'm doing this video is because there is so much going on right now, and it's only right to do this Uranus and Taurus video, whereas this happened back in May the 15th of 2018, and I wasn't doing astrology at this point. So I really had to go back to kind of gather this information. This was like the missing piece to telling the story of what has been going on with all this energy, and how we're coming to the end of an entire generation, and what that is really truly going to mean for us moving forward, which has a lot to do with this Scorpio, the Scorpio new moon that we just had. And after this, in a separate video, I will go over, the Taurus full moon, which will be a culmination point from when Taurus went into Uranus back in 6 months ago. That was exactly 6 months ago. So this is kind of creating a story and a foundation of what it is I'm trying to say here. So it's going to be pretty long-winded when I get into this, but the bottom line is I did a few videos. I think it was the Libra new moon, full moon, and then it was the Scorpio new moon that was kind of bringing up all this talk about relationships and why it's so important to change, and death, right? Because Scorpio represents death, and the understanding of the ending of something, right? And the phoenix rising from the ashes. And I think the reason that I really was pulled to go back and do this Uranus and Taurus video is because this is going to help me explain why this is such an important moment, and why we really need to sit down and think about who we are and who we're going to become moving forward for this big event that every astrologer in the entire world is talking about, for this stellium in Capricorn. So I say all that to say Uranus and Taurus happened in May. Taurus went into Uranus May 15th of 2018. It will stay there until 2026. Okay? Uranus rules revolution, technology, the stars, astrology, astronomy, magical ideas, traveling into space, breaking from the status quo, and the unexpected. That theme is going to ring true throughout this entire video, the unexpected. Uranus is a sign of the future, innovation. Because it's in Taurus, it'll be about bringing innovation to material things, because Taurus is manifesting in the material world, in this lifetime. There will be advances in technology on all levels, okay? Taurus hates the unexpected. Taurus wants stability. Um, Taurus doesn't want to be disturbed by the unexpected or unexpected surprises. Taurus wants to know that there's going to be food on the table and money in the bank. Um, Taurus is about money, economic systems, lands, agriculture, food, water, and how we make use of our resources. Trading. Represents trading. You know, how we trade with one another. Taurus is a fixed sign. And fixed signs are going to feel this the most. This is going to be really hard because fixed signs, typically the idea around fixed signs is that they don't like change, right? And because Uranus has everything to do with change, this is going to be really hard for fixed signs. This will be about releasing old habits. Um, this is going to be about shaking up the staleness and routines, like our daily routines. Taurus is going to become radicalized. Taurus is stubborn. So, you know, on the darker shadow side of Taurus, we'll experience people becoming extremely stubborn to change. Um, and because we're experiencing this in this season, specifically with a Scorpio at this moment, just in this moment, um, whatever is coming up for you now and for this full moon in Taurus will kind of be, for one, it'll be a culmination of what happened 6 months ago, right? Whatever was coming up for you in that new moon in Taurus, when Taurus went into Uranus, you'll have whatever was going on for you. You'll have a culmination of that, right? But it'll also be, you know, the beginning parts of whatever that culmination is and how that's going to grow moving forward, right? It'll be the end of whatever it was. You'll begin to realize what it is that you need to change moving forward. That's the easiest way to put it. And what you'll have to work on moving forward, right? Who you're going to transition into, right? Because we're talking about, or transform into, right? Because we're in Scorpio season, we're talking about change, the death of something, and the rebirth of something else, right? So a lot of that energy is going to come up at this time. We may see upheavals in finances and banking. Um, the dollar probably won't exist in another 8 years. This is going to be, so this is an 8-year transit, right? Over the next 8 years, eventually we'll be doing all digital, right? Digital currency, digital trading. Um, No more credit cards. The ATM machines will eventually be non-existent. Um, we will change the way we trade money. This made me think of, I don't know if anybody's ever had this experience, but when cryptocurrency first came out, they had something called a wallet. And the only way you could trade or hold your cryptocurrency was a wallet, but it was a digital wallet, right? You had to sign on and, make an account, and that was where you held your cryptocurrency. I think to open up that account, they gave like everybody $5, the same way you do with the bank, right? But this is what, in my mind, banks might turn into, right? Because there's going to be no more brick and mortar eventually, right? Brick and mortars are going to go away because there is so much debt that people are in collectively as a whole that we can't keep living this same cycle, these old patterns have to eventually diminish in order for us to have money to use all these new things that are going to be coming about and coming to fruition and manifesting, right? Because this is Taurus, right? So manifesting in the material world. In order for these things to come, we're going to have to lose a lot, right? And that's going to happen in different kinds of ways. With Uranus, it is going to be very unexpected. Even as astrologers, we can't say definitively how something's going to happen. We can give you some ideas and a backstory, but for the most part, because Uranus is unexpected, it could go a completely different way. So we'll have so this cryptocurrency is probably going to be what the new banks are going to look like. At least that's my thoughts. That's how I see this energy playing out. I remember setting up an account and I had to have a wallet, and it's set up just like an online banking. You can see, all of your, whatever, but it is the only way. If you do not have access to this, you can't play. Point blank, period. Because they're not going to be accepting money anymore. So you're going to have this wallet and to be able to trade for anything, buy anything. If you don't have access, you won't be able to play. So people will, because of this, we're going to have to learn how to trade and barter amongst one another. And this is going to be kind of the preface to what it was that I was alluding to in the beginning when I was talking about Mercury retrograde and how this energy in Scorpio is playing out right now and why it's so important to end certain relationships, right? Because really what's happening as a bigger story as a whole, if you think about the world coming to an end of certain things as you know it, if you look to your left and you looked to your right, do you have people in your life right now who can say for sure that they can teach you how to plant? Do you know how to plant? Right? Do you know how to build? Right? Do you know how to sustain yourself without living off of the government or corporate? Right? This is kind of why I went back. I had to go back and do all of this so that I can build a stronger foundation and understanding to why this Scorpio season is huge, way bigger than anybody, I'm almost positive, is taking this right now. And I'll get into that more towards the end of the video. But just so you have an understanding of where I'm going with all of this. When you think about having to depend on somebody as a whole in a community and the way we struggle with doing that right now, it's unfortunate, but we will have to unexpectedly lose some friends some way, somehow, because you're going to gain new friends, right? That's also what Uranus rules. Rules the 11th house, which is about groups of people, right? And friendships. This is going to be extremely important moving forward. You're going to have at least 5 different people in your life who you'll be able to depend on in order to sustain and live your life. They're already doing stuff like this in China and other countries, which is an entirely different story. When you start talking about America is the greatest country, I think not. It's interesting that they portray that, and this is all going to come to reality. This is going to be a part of this 2020 awakening that we're going to hear about, or if you don't already know, right, that other countries have already got these systems in place, by the way. China is damn near light years ahead of us with all of this technology. I strongly suggest, I don't care if you like computers or not, you take a coding class. I was having this conversation with my sister and I couldn't pinpoint the reason why. She's like, well, why do you saying people need to take a coding class or a computer class? Um, it's literally going to be how you operate anything. So if you don't know how to use it, yeah, it's literally going to be the way how you're going to create everything. You might have to create a program in order to do something. Yeah, you can buy it, but what if you don't have the funds to do that, right? So our thinking, Mercury, and Scorpio has to change, right? So we're really going back and reevaluating everything right now. And you might not know it and it might not be clear to you as to why this is coming up, but it will eventually, you know. So cryptocurrencies may be a great way to invest during the instability. We may see sudden changes in stock markets, precious metals. Gold may be reintroduced. Silver will experience some instability, but eventually that'll also be a great way to invest. The oil markets will experience some instability. The food market is definitely going to experience some some instability. Um, we're seeing this more now where everyone is eating healthier, right? They got all these vegan everything, and people are going back to the natural way of healing and health, eating, healthy way of eating, farming. That's going to become huge. They already have little pockets of places that you can go to plant stuff. That those things are going to become more popular. So that's going to be another growing field to get work in. Um, Consider it strongly. Um, People will grow their own foods. They'll have some technology devices. I don't know the recipe. I just know that they're doing a whole bunch of stuff with, being able to create more food to feed people. It's technology. Am I with it? Absolutely not. Doesn't change the fact that it is going to be a necessity at some point. We literally don't have sustainable ways to plant and farm and feed ourselves now. And then you got the GMOs that are affecting the grounds, the earth, right? Taurus does not like this. So we're going to have to find creative, innovative ways to deal with that and restore the earth. And that's unfortunately going to be one of the ways that it's going to be done. Um, People are going to become more hip to the GMOs. They're coming up with these restorative, innovative ways to give back to the earth, right? And the ocean. The ocean is another thing that needs to be worked on. Will ultimately go back to a more natural way of living. Smaller groups of people depending on one another to grow and feed one another is going to be really, really huge. Um, of course, that's going to bring the whole weather. Um, the extreme weather and weather modification. They've already mentioned and admitted that they do it. Do I like it? Nope. But it's going to be a thing at some point where, you know, we'll have to change or modify the weather in order for us to be able to grow, right? And again, this is just a more restorative process. On the shadow side, can it be used for something else? Absolutely. Not to mention, because Uranus is in Taurus, that's already going to cause some detriment to weather. And we're just not in a position right now where we're going to be able to be like, oh, yeah, so we just got bad weather, and accept it when you got thousands of people who need to eat, right? So, that's a thing. Um, and it's going to be a pretty big thing at some point. Um, we will experience this instability in real estate. I mean, I feel like everybody's already feeling that now. That's completely out of control. Making us rethink the way we live. So we might consider smaller homes. I think they have this on like the HGTV channel. At least I remember watching it, where they have these little homes that they be building now, and or the container homes, right? So we'll think of more um, smarter ways to live, more sustainable, smaller ways to live. Will become extremely important. Um, they'll create new devices for like fires and floods in homes. And there'll be changes with like debt. People are in, I think it's like 90% of student debt that's not being paid. And then you have auto loans. There will be a recession. I mean, that's just the bottom line. With all of this debt and these changes that are going to kind of collide at some point, making it harder for us to live, isn't as if it isn't already hard, but it's just going to be so we're just going to be so hyper aware of it, right? That people are going to react in a certain kind of way, like, I'm tired of this type thing. I got to do what I got to do for me, right? To survive. Um, there'll be a rise in alternative medicine because of this, right? The healthy way of eating. Um, and herbology is going to become huge, like not that it already isn't. It's just super unaffordable, right? So a lot of these things, this is also going to affect our health insurance. um well, not us, for the government. Sorry, government. Well, we'll start to go back to the natural ways of healing. We're no longer going to be so much into the um, going to the hospital. If it's That's going to probably at some point be like the last resort to go to a hospital. Medical technology will be huge. We'll see a rise in this. I think this happened back in the 1920s, but because everybody was so worried about back then, I think we were going through a recession, and people were worried about where they were going to live and all that other stuff, that it kind of fell through the wayside, right? You've seen all these medical devices come, and then it kind of just went, that was like, oh, who cares about that when I gotta eat and feed myself and find a place to live, right? So that's going to come back up, but it's going to be like more new and improved way um, of these devices, right? It's going to be like an upgrade of those devices. Um, They'll have frequency technology to help with like your moods, um, and like colors, like the color technology stuff. What else? Sound healing will be huge, which by the way is already really huge. Sound healing is a real thing. I know a few people. A radio station I used to listen to used to have this woman on there who talked about it all the time. I think her child had like maybe it was Down syndrome. Don't quote me on that, but it was some kind of health issue that she used sound healing to help. Like they have a device for that. to help, heal the child from this. And that's just going to become the norm, right? It's going to become mainstream, right? That's kind of something that Uranus also rules. It's going to be the trend, right? So, um, frequency and radio wave technology to help heal is also going to become a thing. Um, or what I should say, it'll be officially introduced to the world, right? Because a lot of these things are already existing. People just don't know about it. And then hemp. Everybody's already seeing this rise of hemp. But what people don't know and what they will wake up to is how hemp is cheaper to build and create, and people have not been allowed to use it. Like, I think they made it illegal. Don't quote me on that. Another radio station I used to listen to did a huge story on this, and you can make everything with hemp, by the way. Not to mention that's another healing modality. Um, they have CBD oil that is good for you. And it's just, it's been, I don't want to say it's been too mainstreamed, but just like the GMOs, like they've the street drug, right? It's not as natural as it should be. Let's just put it like that. You could get really good weed that would blow your socks off as opposed to what they're selling on the streets, right? That kind of takes away from the real healing modality of hemp. And that will also be something I wouldn't even sleep on that. I'd start investing in hemp like yesterday. um this will be the revelation or revolution in anti-aging, because Taurus rules beauty. um they'll have aging spas and technology for aging and beauty, right? Where you could change your whatever. I'm not into all of that stuff, but um there'll be the emergence of AI. I think I talked about this a little bit in another video, where they're combining AI as an artificial intelligence. For those people out there who don't know what AI is, they're combining computers with human biology, right? So they'll be opening the door to like microchips and apps that you can use to literally do everything. And again, this is something that's not new to most people. It's definitely something that's already out there. It's just not mainstream yet, right? Um, what else? And they already do this in China as well, actually. They don't have ATMs or banks anymore, from what I understand. Don't quote me on this. But I do know for sure that they already use apps to do, like, you can use it to start your car, to open your doors, to set your alarm system for your house. Like, it does, it's like Alexa, but in your body, right? On a microchip. Right? Because you could tell Alexa to do stuff. That's why I related her to Alexa. Alexa is like, that's like baby talk to China right now. But pretty much you can use a microchip or an app to control your entire daily routine. Um, we'll become more sensitive, and because of that, we'll become more sensitive to the stronger connection that we'll need to do all of these things too. That's going to be another thing. I think I was talking to my brother and he said something about they already have 4K out. I don't know what 4K even is. I'm not into that stuff. But I've only heard 5G. So already, like I said, there are things out there that, just a lot of people don't know much about, but it will become mainstream at some point because it's literally going to be the way we live our life. Like I was going to say our life force. That's pushing it, but almost pretty much, right? Will be on a digital everything. So because of this, our bodies will become more sensitive to the connection to Wi-Fi, or the things, that energy that we need to run all of this stuff. And that'll be an issue at some point. You know, it is what it is, right? Because Taurus rules fashion, or ruled by Venus, which rules fashion, fashion will be very different than what we know it to be right now. They'll have clothing that will change colors with your mood, and clothes that'll help you stay cool when it's hot and warm when it's cold. That's going to be a thing. Um, all these changes are going to make us, Taurus, change our values, right? Because Taurus rules our values and how we think and feel about things, right? So we're having this like mental and emotional upgrade, really, because our environment's going to change. So we're going to change the way we think. That's going to help us live more securely in this change. We need money to pay for all this. Where's this money coming from, right? We already talked about the debt that we're going through, the loans and the homeowners. I alluded a little bit to the insurance because of the health. That's going to help us pay, though, right? So if we don't pay for health insurance through our jobs anymore, this is going to leave us more money to pay for other things and these things that we'll need now to stay healthy, right? We're kind of coming to this more healthier way, more independent way of living, right? We're going to have to come up with an entirely different system of independence to live. It'll lead to like a more like we won't be depending on working for anybody anymore. This will be the rise of the entrepreneur, rise of online business and technology, working from home,